Today we have the unboxing of the Command of Nature Sand and Wind expansion. But before that, just a real quick, brief explanation on how this game is played and what this game is all about. This is the Be a Hero Gaming channel, where we talk about all things gaming, how to have a good time playing games, how to level up your characters, and escape the world for a little bit and have fun with your games. And also how we can level up in the real world and ask ourselves on a daily basis, what level are we and where can we level up? Remember, sometimes you level up incrementally, little bits at a time, and sometimes you can make a big leap. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the unboxing of Command of Nature. I got a little story to tell there that just kind of a cool example of where don't listen to the naysayers. And just if you want to go big, just go big and don't listen to what other people have to say. But Command of Nature, this is kind of a newer game that just came out from Kickstarter, and I think they just started shipping them out. And it's a game by Unstable Games. If you're familiar with Unstable Unicorns or Here to Slay or Casting Shadows, this is a game kind of like one of those, a little more complex here. And kind of here's what we have here. This is kind of like the basic setup. And it doesn't have to be set up just like this. I did this just so it kind of fit in the camera frame here. But essentially you have your warrior group here, or your elementals as they're called. This is your faction board. 3 really powerful elementals that will be unlocked throughout the game. And a deck of cards, a couple of counters you're going to use throughout the game. What you're trying to do is defeat your opponent's sage, which is kind of your leader here. And you can see the picture of this character here on the board as well. And so you're organized here into rows 1, 2, and 3. And a lot of your attacks and abilities can't really get to the guys in the back here. Your opponent's going to have theirs set up just like this, except for a mirror image on the other side. So you have 1 versus 1, and there's going to be 2 and 3 after that. You'll notice here on each card here, there is a number right up here. This is your attack power. This is the amount of health you have before the enemy, before your elemental is knocked out. This is just a basic elemental you can see here, and you start out with 3 basics in the front. These are elemental warriors. Here's your sage, and these are elemental champions over here, which will be unlocked later in the game. When you knock out somebody's elemental, you will move your level marker up 1 level. Once you get to level 4, you will unlock this elemental here, and so forth, 6 and 8. And when you unlock them, you unlock a special ability here that you can perform as one of your actions. Each turn, the way the turn sequence goes is you start the game off by any of these sun images you see here. You get to perform that action. However, any action that's listed on your cards, you'll notice here there's a 1, 2, and a 3 Roman numeral. And so for your sage here, they're all lit up because the sage can collect 3 coins or 3 gold in any one of these rows, row 1, 2, or 3. Okay, but this guy, the thorn fencer, has got to be in row 1 if you want to add 1 boost or 1 shield to this elemental. He's got to be in row 1. Right now he's in row 3. And so I'm eventually going to have to move him up if I want to be able to do this. Now it says shield or boost. What is a shield or boost? Well, these are the boost tokens here. And the cool thing about all these tokens is they're double-sided. So it's 3 on one side and 1 on the other side with the coin and all the tokens. And so it makes kind of laying the tokens out a little bit simpler. If you put a boost on one of your cards, that's going to increase their attack level by 1, or however many boosts you put on them. Attack level by 3. When you attack, all the boosts go away, regardless of what you did in your attack. If you shield somebody, you're going to put a shield on somebody. That's going to reduce the damage they take by 1 or 3, or however many shields you have on the elemental. If you block any amount of damage, all your shields go away. As your elementals get damaged, you'll place these damage tokens on them to keep track of the damage. Flip them over if you go to 3, or again, I love this how it's 1 and 3, so you have to sort through, find the different ones. You can just flip them over. Every sage that I've seen at the beginning of your turn, you collect 3 gold. That goes over here in your wallet. You're able to spend those. I don't have room on here, so I didn't set the decks out. But you have a deck with 3 cards that are additional elementals. They don't have to be from your faction. They can be from the other factions. As well as 3 ability cards that you can purchase at the end of your turn. Okay, so the way the turn sequence works is any card that has a sun image on it like this, you perform that action as long as the corresponding row is correct. After you've done that, you get to take 4 actions on your turn. Here's the basic actions right here. You can summon an elemental from your hand if you have an open slot in your formation. You can play a command card from your hand, which are just ability cards that you play. You can swap the position of 2 connected elementals, which means they have to be touching. So you can swap these 2, or these 2, or these 2, or these 2, or these. You could not swap these 2. You could not swap these 2 because they're not touching. They basically just have to be touching the other elemental, and then you can swap them. And then the fourth basic action you can perform is to draw a card. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to draw 5 cards here. And we'll just take a look at what we got here. There are a couple of elementals that are not going to fit into your formation here. They're going to go into your deck. And you can see here, I've only got 3 cards left. So again, you're going to buy cards throughout that game with your money to add additional abilities or additional elementals to your hand. Now, the options of again, playing an elemental, I have to have an open slot, so I can't play this card. This is a ritual card that has some effect that you play on your turn, these yellow or gold or orange, whatever color that is. The red cards are instants that you play on somebody else's turn. If I were to attack, I would respond with a red card. Then these cards are the attack cards that I'm going to use. The melee card, it says you have to be in row 1 to use. That's what's really cool. All these cards, they have listed on here the rows you have to be in order to use these cards. The melee card says you have to be in row 1, so you got to be at the top here, and you can attack 1 person away. So basically the guy that's right in front of you, you can attack for whatever your strength is. This guy's strength is 2. Unless he's been boosted, it will be an additional strength attack. And then the opponent can respond with any red cards if they want to. So again, this is just a melee attack. You just attack 1-on-1. This one here is a ranged attack where you can attack from row 1 or row 2, but you have to attack 2 rows away. So if I attack here, it's got to be 1, 2 rows away. I can only attack the guy in front. If I attack here, I can attack 1, 2 rows away. I can attack their 2 guys in the back if I attack with this guy. Each elemental can only attack once per turn, so you have to kind of keep track of that. This guy's attacked already. Okay, I'm going to swap these 2 guys' positions and do another melee attack with your swap ability. That's just kind of a brief rundown. If one of your elementals is knocked out, usually this guy in the front, because that's usually the one taking all the melee attacks, any knocked out elementals are removed from the game. Okay, so you don't get those back in your discard pile. Those are removed from the game. As you play these cards, these will get placed in a discard pile over here, that once this deck runs out, you shuffle this back up and reuse it. But if an elemental's knocked out, he's out of the game, and then you got to fill the ranks. This guy's got to come up, or one of these 2, you choose one, and then you choose one of these to come up to fill the second row. The third row doesn't have to be filled, but the first and second row, if you can, you have to fill them. So eventually, if they knock out enough guys, your leader's going to make his way up there and have to face off against the enemy. So you want to kind of keep this guy protected. And then, now again, on my next turn now that one's been knocked out, I can play this card as one of my actions to fill that rank. Again, I don't have the decks out here, but you can buy additional elementals with your coins that go into your discard pile, or additional ability cards that will go into your discard pile. And then eventually, when you've drawn all these cards and this fills up, you will shuffle this deck up, and you'll draw new cards from it, however many you need at the end of your turn to make 5 cards. So with that said, once you've done your 4 actions, the next phase in your turn is you have the option to buy from the 2 decks. And then the final action is you can discard any number of cards from your hand that you don't want, or you can keep them and then draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. And that's how you finish your turn. Again, as these get unlocked here, and every time you defeat an elemental from the other team, this goes up. And you will unlock these cards. When these get unlocked, they'll go into your discard pile. So eventually they'll be shuffled up and put back in here. You can see this level 8 guy's pretty sweet. He's got an 8 strength and 6 health. Way better than the little mushroom buddies over here. And from row 1 or row 2, he can use this ability. So this is a pretty good guy. Once you get a bunch of guys knocked out, you can get these. And the factions are all a little bit different. All have a little bit different abilities and kind of focuses. We've only played 1 time, but it was a little bit touch and go. I thought I was down to just 2 elementals. I think I had like this guy left and like 1 other guy left. And this guy was actually not in the front. It was like this. Everything else was knocked out. My son had almost cleaned me out, but I had no damage on this guy. And for some reason, my son brought his sage up into row 2, and I just kept hitting him with ranged attacks, and he kept forgetting to move him away, and eventually I knocked his sage out and was able to win the game. So a little bit more technical than most of these unstable games, but we had a lot of fun playing it. And I think with the different factions, there's 4 factions that come in the basic box, and we're about to jump into here and see the other 2 that come in the expansion. So we'll just slide this off here. This is the expansion here. You can see comes with a sand guy and a wind guy, and also some additional tokens here that might have some additional mechanics for the game. We'll just take a look in here and see what they have to say about that. But again, this game, there's a little bit more to it than the typical unstable game. It's just with your card management and your positioning of the cards is really important, and where you position the cards. Okay, so the Sand and Wind rules is just a fold-out leaflet here that looks like it's going to have some additional stuff in here. It shows you the contents of the box here, and I think this is just a little brief explanation on the two factions. Oh, that's it. It doesn't really say anything else. It does say there's some erosion. Oh, maybe that tells you about erosion and tailwind. Okay, so there is going to be an additional mechanic with these here, because these wind and erosion tokens are not in the basic set. They don't have anything like this in the basic game. And then here's your two faction markers that you're going to move up to show your level as you defeat the other elementals. So a little punch board there. Here are the boards here, and they just fold in half here. Our sand guy looks like a little rabbit here. Here's where it lists your basic actions you can take on your turn. As you uncover these special actions, these are pretty good. So as you defeat guys and you uncover these cards, you're going to get these extra actions. You can only use one of these per turn. So if you have all three uncovered, you can't use all three for 3 actions. You can choose to use one of them as one of your actions, and then your other 3 actions have to be spent on these abilities over here, because these are really good. And again, each faction, they're a little bit different, just depending on whether you want to go for defense or offense or card management or drawing from your discard pile. There's all kinds of different things you can do for those. So here's Dusty the Sand Sage. And then we've also got Cyclone the Wind Sage. And again, he's going to have different abilities here. He is a cockatoo or something, some kind of bird. Pretty cool. Again, basic abilities here. His are going to be a little bit different over there. Cyclone the Wind Sage. And then you're just going to have their faction decks here. Oh, and it looks like, okay. So there's an additional elemental market. Now, as I mentioned before, when you go to purchase guys from the elemental market, so these are the elemental guys, and they have a coin value at the bottom on what they cost to purchase these. So there are no sand or wind elementals currently in the deck that you can purchase. So now that I have these, I guess I could just show you. This deck's going to be upside down. There's going to be 3 of these that are displayed. So you can read the 3 abilities and what they do, and if you want to add them to your ranks. When you buy these, they will go in your discard pile, and then eventually that will be shuffled and turned back into a deck, and you'll have the chance to draw them at that point. There are certain cards, though, that say in order to use this, you have to have 2 or 3 connected, again, that's where they're touching each other in the formation, connected elementals from your faction. So you can bring other factions in as you buy these, but there will be certain things that you will not be able to do. Some of them are really expensive. I've seen ones as high as 9 that have really good health and strength and a really good ability, but you got to save up. You're only going to get 3 gold per turn, and sometimes you get a gold or 2 here or there. And they're going to tell you here these are basics. Sometimes an ability will say you have to have at least 2 basics in your formation in order to do it. So there's a lot of card management that goes on here. Oh, there's another basic one who's, okay, a little bit tougher. And then you can see here, 7-5, let's see if we can find this one's 7 here. This guy's got a lot of health here. So again, these are just going to be mixed into that deck of the guys you can hire, and it's easy to tell the cards apart, which you have to do because eventually these will be all shuffled into one deck, and you'll have to separate them when you're done with the game. And it's easy to tell because the ones from the deck have the coin value on them, and the ones that are from your own faction deck are going to have these stars down here. So this is an example of what Dusty the Elemental Sage comes with. He's going to come with the Elemental Sage. He's going to come with 3 Elemental Warriors, 2 of which will flank him at the bottom. He's going to have his basic elementals that will be at the top. And then these are the champions that will be upside down on his board. Okay, 3 and 5, 4 and 6, 6 and 6. Ooh, Jack of all blades. This guy looks pretty treacherous. So they'll have those to set up in the formation. The other 2 that you don't use will be shuffled into this deck, which will be, looks like 3 attack cards, a couple of instant response cards, and then another ritual that you can perform. Now, this is something that we kind of forgot about until we went back through the rules. This 3 here means that in order to use this sand sorcery, you've got to have 3 connected elementals. And I think they have to come from your same faction. I can't remember. But 3 connected elementals from your same faction. So as people start to knock them out, and there's nobody, you only have 2 left, you can't use this anymore because you need at least 3 to use this. So again, this is Dusty, the Wind Sage. This is what he comes with here, he or she. Here's the Wind Pack for the Wind Sage. And I tried to save these little slip papers on the outside here so I could sort the cards. This one's on there really tight. Just so they didn't get mixed up with the other cards to slide these back on, because you just stack them up in the box. And so this one I just pulled off. And then when we were done playing, we just slipped this back on to keep them separate. Okay, here you've got Cyclone here, the Wind Sage. Again, your Sage is always going to have a lot of health to keep them around for a while. He's going to have his Elemental Warriors that are flanking him in row 3, the basics that are up on top, and then here are his Elemental Champions that are going to be upside down on his board to be revealed later. And then again, just a couple basic attacks. I think each one has a 1 range and 2 melee attacks, a couple of response cards, and a ritual command that they can use. So that's just kind of what's inside the box here. Again, just going to be the two faction decks and a few more cards to add to the, what do they call them here? The Elemental Market. So you can hire these guys. It's kind of a difficult balance between hiring some of these guys as well as buying the abilities, because if you get too many abilities in your deck and people are knocking all your elementals out, you're not going to be able to fill your ranks back up, and your leader's quickly going to make their way to the top and get wiped out. So a lot of strategy in this game, a lot of different things you can do. We had a good time playing it. Remember, guys, if you are looking to level up in real life, the best way to do that is incrementally. The best way is look for something you can do a little bit at a time each day to make yourself better than you were yesterday. But if you want to go for something big, just do it. And if people are telling you can't do it or it's not possible, just say, hold my game and watch this. And go do something big, whether it's with your career, with yourself socially or physically, or whatever you want to do. Just go get something big and jump from level 1 to level 10. Don't just skip all those levels in between. But again, most things in your life, you're going to want to level up incrementally. You can't do everything big, but if you feel so inspired, go for it. Appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully, if you want to check this game out, I had a lot of fun playing it, and look for ways to be hero guys out there, and take care.